Are you seeking the Lord and yearn to hear his voice with greater clarity? Do you desire to be the kingdom servant and representative that will bring glory to his name? Or perhaps you would like to share with other powerful vessels of honor by means of networking throughout the body of Christ and this region? Hello, my name is Valerie Foye, and I welcome you to Preaching Women. I serve as an associate pastor of Greater Apostolic House of Prayer in the great city of Buffalo, New York, under the phenomenal leadership of Bishop Dr. Jacqueline Foye. And I am absolutely elated to have you join me today. This program is targeted and designed to help fellow female clergy fulfill their kingdom assignment in the Lord's church through the powerful gospel of Jesus Christ. As Paul declared, I am not ashamed of the gospel, for it is the power of God unto salvation to everyone that believes. My prayer is that you will be blessed and enjoy the program today.
Gives it to me.
Right.
That's all that I don't pray like I pray like who God has birthed me to pray. I preach like God birthed me to preach. And I tell people, if you hear a hoop, it's only because Jesus did it, because I ain't reverend up. Wow. That's just not my personality. But you have to come to know who you are, whose you are, and be that. Be that like 110%, because if I focus on trying to be like a Pastor Swain,
sure,
then now I'm not walking in my ministry. I'm trying to mimic hers.
That's true.
And so, but people are waiting for the ministry within me to be me. So I did feel like the Moses. I was like, I don't talk like that. I don't know scriptures backwards and forwards like Pastor Alan Core told them off the top of your head, but I know it's in the word. Okay. And so I had to get over that and just be who I am and know that it's okay. And if I make a mistake, I'm humble enough and honest enough to say, you know what, I shouldn't have did it like that. Mm-hmm. But the bottom line is I felt the weight of the Lord because I wasn't doing what he had called me to do even after I got licensed. And even after I got ordained, I still was trying to fit in. And so once I released that, it just flowed. I'm just me. That's all I can say. I'm just me. I love the people and I'm just me.
But you said so much there because, there's a lot to live up to. I think when you're new in ministry or whatever, I'm like you. When I was ordained, I was very young. I wanted to go in the hospital and pray for people. And I saw myself on, just as you said, a ministry of helps or whatever I could do. I wanted to be used of God. I was born and raised in the church, and I've always had a sensitivity for God. So I wasn't surprised. I have a family full of preachers. It's like you said, sometimes I think that whoever you are groomed under, you tend to pick up a little bit of maybe their gestures or how they say things, but like you said, being a carbon copy, no. I had phenomenal preachers, including my own mom and pastor, and so it was something to live up to. But as you said, you have to do it the way God gives it to you. And I want to be what I consider a well-rounded speaker, preacher, whatever. I tend to get excited. The word excites me, and I kind of hoop. I don't always want to, but I'm sure, and I'll ask you about that in a minute. In terms of sometimes the venues that we're called to or assigned to, different churches. If I was going to speak at a Presbyterian church, I wouldn't expect that they would necessarily understand the hoop. Not that I think we've all kind of been well-rounded, that we've been and seen and heard a little bit of different styles of ministry. But again, it's as you're saying, to not limit yourself, but yet understand how God uses you. I offer no apologies for the way God uses me, but you want to be sensitive. And that's what I hear in what you're saying. You have to be open to how God uses you, because everywhere you go won't be the same. It won't be the same.
Right.
So
exactly.
I have, even as a musician, I played at different churches. So I'm semi familiar with, perhaps the way a certain ministry style is. I mean, we have Catholic churches now that if you were blindfolded, you wouldn't know where you were,
Yes.
So, and I can recall my mom saying, even in seminary, that, you might be graded on, and you exegete a text or whatever, and it had to be 15 minutes,
right.
So if you went over that grade reflected that, so it's about being, and I'm really happy about that, to see women. I think we're forging paths. Years ago, I think that, I grew up in the church where it wasn't foreign, for the women were used,
right.
But by the same token, that's not the way it is at a lot of places.
Right.
And even in the 21st century, we encounter places. I was at somewhere recently where it was made known we ain't feeling women, and that's humbling. That is humbling. I mean, I think, share what you're feeling on, knowing, as you said a bit ago, knowing what God has given you, knowing that He's called you, walking in obedience, and then perhaps coming up against someone who is like, no, we don't believe in that here. Or we don't think God uses women, or, has called a woman. What do you say to that person who's maybe kind of stuck? They know what God has told them, but they know maybe where they go to church. How do you approach that?
And I'm going to say, my dear Mama Butterfly, right. Pastor Swain, taught me well.
Okay.
And I remember an incident where we did visit a church, and they didn't welcome us as female preachers.
Wow.
And they was like, oh no, y'all not sitting over there. Y'all can't sit on the front row. Y'all have to sit 2 rows back. And she said, it's okay, because I'm still who I am.
That's right.
Now, there were a couple of female preachers, they got offended and they left.
Wow.
But she instilled, they don't tell you who you are. God has called you.
Oh my.
And so, in preaching, whether you preach from a floor or in the pulpit, because I've had that experience too, that, I've been at a church and the females don't preach from the pulpit. They preach from the floor.
Right.
So I'm good.
Right.
As long as I'm able to get the word out.
Right.
I could be outside.
Okay.
So I don't let that hinder me or hinder who I am.
Right.
But that's just being, again, knowing whose you are and whose assignment you're on. Because I think for me, it's important to know your assignment.
True.
If you don't know what your assignment is, then you're about to go to and fro, and you're going to go through this emotional whirlwind of, am I supposed to do this? Am I supposed to be over here? Oh, that person didn't want me. And you'll get caught up in that distraction of mess.
Right. Right.
And you have to just be confident in who you are. And it's a process, and it's a humbling process.
Right.
And I share because, again, after all these years, God really got me good this year.
Okay.
And we were on a prayer call, and Pastor Craig Pridgeon, was praying. And afterwards, I, greeted him and said, thank you for being on the call. And what he said to me was, I love to see you in your zone. Mm. And when he said that, I boo-hoo bawled and cried for 45 minutes. Because earlier that day, God said, stop dummying down on the gifts that I have given you.
My.
And I had to really repent.
Right.
And say, God, I'm so sorry. And ever since, it was in January, first Monday in January.
Right.
And ever since then, I'm very sensitive to making sure I'm obedient. That when, if he tells me to go speak, if he tells me to be still, if he gives me a vision, to make sure I carry it out.
Right.
Because it's not even about me.
Mm-hmm.
It's about who's going to come in my direction that is going to be a blessing.
Right.
And I don't want to hinder somebody else's blessing or deliverance or healing because I'm stuck in myself because of my own gripping on my own fear not to walk on the water.
Speaking to you is just so, I just can't tell you. I'm grinning from ear to ear, just hearing your heart. What is it that you share in your role as the pastor of worship and ministry development? How do you do what you do at your church?
So we are a church with 4 services, 3 locations.
Right.
And so what we have is pastors of worship over those services. So they kind of do the bulk of the work when it comes to the worship service, and I oversee them. But then I also help to coordinate, the choirs, the dancers, whatever else would take place in the worship services. I'm that point person that will communicate it to the pastors of worship so that it flows. Ministry development, just empowering our leaders. I'm not doing your ministry. I'm not running your ministry.
Wow.
But I'm going to empower you with the wisdom that God gives me to be that leader that you are in the position of. So if you have a problem in your ministry or, there's some discrepancies, they do come and call me and then we talk it out. I'll give them some guidelines so that they're able to go back and be that leader and serve the people. So that is, and probably amongst a bunch of other things.
Right.
But that is, I just love empowering the people.
I can just see
empowering leaders to be the best, to serve the people, because people, I think it bothers me when we prejudge people. Mm-hmm. And
I hope you will join me next time for Preaching Women. If you enjoyed the broadcast and the information shared, why not contact me via email at pastorvfoye@gmail.com. If you would like to have me visit your church, contact Valerie Foye Ministries at 716-888-0132. You may also send correspondence to Preaching Women, P.O. Box 695, Buffalo, New York, 14231. Or visit me on Facebook under Valerie Foye. I extend an enthusiastic invitation to you. Join Greater Apostolic House of Prayer, 1455 Fillmore Avenue, Buffalo, New York, for any and all of our worship services, starting with Christian education at 9:30 a.m. on Sundays, and our exuberant praise and heartfelt worship at 12 noon. Bible study is held on Tuesdays, beginning with prayer at 7:30 p.m. Join us on Friday for our Joy Night service at 7:45 p.m. We're the ministry that talks good about God. The servant leader is Bishop Dr. Jacqueline A. Foye. Preaching Women is an extension of this phenomenal ministry. I would like to inform you about Valerie Foye's remote notary services. I come to you for your notary needs for a nominal fee. This is ideal for homebound individuals who may not have access to banking services. It is recommended for notary needs after business hours and on weekends. Call 716-812-9912. Additionally, please feel free to share any upcoming events that you may be hosting or would like to have announced on the Preaching Women broadcast.